These are the memories tearing a family apart.
What you got?
Images of a happy mom, a devoted dad, and an adorable little baby who disappears overnight.
I should have just kept her home. I should have just kept her home that night, and none of this would have ever happened.
Her disappearance shattering this once happy family into a bitter war of words.
Do you think Jamie knows more than she's letting on?
I do.
Where is baby Ember? Is this innocent little child even alive? And why are cops now questioning her daddy? In happier days, Jamie and Matthew Graham are a couple in love, at least for a while, struggling to make ends meet in a one-horse town near Redding, California.
Sometimes it was really great, and then sometimes it was not so great. The great times were really good, and then the times that weren't were really bad. It was either really high or really low.
The best of times were always centered around this sweet face.
What are you doing?
Their baby, Ember Sky, at 6 months old, the apple of everyone's eye, especially her grandma's.
She's funny. She's always laughing. She likes to roll her eyes and learned how to kiss her babies.
I have a little picture of her, and her arm is up, and she's like, you know, like this, and her head is tilted, and it's so sweet.
And she was definitely sweet on her daddy, Matthew.
She just has him wrapped right around her little finger, and he just adored her and was very attentive to her needs.
Some of those needs are life-threatening. Ember requires regular medication to control seizures. But when he wasn't being super dad, his cousin Sarah says Matthew liked to party.
Did Matthew have a drug problem?
He smoked marijuana, medically and recreationally.
Any other dope?
He smoked honey oil, which is a form of cannabis.
Whether it was the pot or something else, Jamie says Matthew was impulsive, even erratic.
We could be living together, and then next thing you know, he would come home from work and he'd be like, okay, well, you know what? I don't want to be with you, and you're moving out, and this is the way things are, and that's how it went. And he did that very often.
While trying to get his life on track, Matthew moves in with his cousin Sarah.
Everything was finally falling into place. He had gotten a ticket for drunk driving. That was finishing up. They were going to have more money. Like, everything was just finally perfect.
Then one blazing hot summer night, that perfect picture shatters. Ember's having a daddy-daughter sleepover with Matthew.
He would come pick her up sometimes, and she would stay the night, either one time every week or one time every other week. She'd be staying the night with him.
At around 10:30 that night, Matthew says he went to sleep in this bed just a few feet from Ember. But as the sun comes up the next morning, baby Ember is gone. Vanished from her crib. Matthew panics.
He said he woke up and he went running into the front room, and she wasn't there. I could hear the emotion and the fear in his voice, and of not knowing where she was and where was she.
Police respond to Matthew's 911 call, and the distraught Jamie arrives soon after. But Jamie doesn't find Matthew to be hysterical at all.
What was Matthew's demeanor like?
It was very strange. He seemed like he was upset, but at the same time, it almost seemed kind of fake.
You think the emotions were contrived?
Yes. He was crying, but it almost seemed like he was whining. It was very kind of forced, and it was really confusing.
The questions swirl in the young mom's head. Was Ember snatched from her crib while Matthew slept just a few feet away? Or did Matthew know more than he was saying?
I immediately was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, looking everywhere that I could. I was scrambling around because my 6-month-old child is missing, and she was just there the day before.
Police dispatch search parties. A media frenzy explodes.
Deputies have been questioning both Matthew and Jamie Lee. They tell me little Ember Sky Graham is still missing.
And a growing cloud of suspicion forms. around Matthew Graham.
It wasn't hardly anybody had anything good to say about him. They either stole from him money or property, owed him money, borrowed this and never returned it type of thing. There wasn't a lot of love for the man in that town.
Matthew had a lot of enemies.
I wouldn't say enemies, a lot of people that were pissed off at him.
And cops say Matthew's story doesn't quite add up. Their suspicion starts with what Matthew does the day before Ember's disappearance, when he runs an odd errand with Ember in tow.
I was in the kitchen and he had came in and asked me, he said, I'm gonna go to the gas station, do you want anything? And he left. He was gone a little bit longer than normal.
How far was the gas station?
It was like 5 minutes.
Police say they know for sure baby Ember was with her father when he hit up this convenience store right behind me. But what happens after that remains unclear. Take a look at this surveillance video from the Happy Stop Mini Mart. Matthew grabs a few things and pays, with baby Ember clearly in her carrier. Matthew then packs Ember into his truck and drives off, but not towards home. Matthew heads west towards the Clear Creek Water Tower, the opposite direction.
We talked to him about that. He said that he was taking her for a ride to get her to calm down, possibly go to sleep.
What cops discover next really sends up red flags. The security camera catches Matthew's car coming back the other way, a full hour later.
And when asked what he did during that hour, he can't remember.
Where was Matthew coming from? And more importantly, was little Ember still with him? Coming up, little girl gone.
A child just doesn't go missing.
A clue by the side of the road.
Why would her pacifier be all the way out in practically the middle of nowhere?
And the father's desperation takes a heart-stopping new turn.
I pulled open my purse and I realized that the gun wasn't in there. And my last words to him were, "We'll be right here waiting for you, Matthew." And then he got out and we didn't see him again.